Gregory Walsh had built his fortune in commercial real estate, transforming rundown properties into thriving spaces. At 51, he lived in a sprawling estate that felt too large and too quiet, especially since his divorce 3 years ago. His days were filled with meetings and negotiations, his evenings with silence and memories. He employed a small household staff, people who came and went quietly, maintaining the order of his life. Among them was a young woman named Caroline Mitchell, who'd been his housekeeper for nearly a year. She was efficient, polite, and almost invisible in the way good household staff often are. Gregory knew little about her beyond the fact that she kept his home immaculate and always left before he returned from work. That changed one Thursday evening when Gregory came home earlier than usual. He'd canceled a dinner meeting, tired of the endless networking and small talk. As he entered through the side door, he noticed a light on in the kitchen. It was past 10 o'clock. Walking quietly down the hallway, he found Caroline sitting at the kitchen table, still in her uniform, bent over a thick textbook. Her blonde hair had escaped from its usual neat bun, and she was so absorbed in what she was reading that she didn't hear him approach. "Mrs.'s Anecdotes," he read aloud from the spine of the book, and Caroline jumped, nearly knocking over her cup of tea. "Mr. Walsh!" "I'm so sorry. I thought you'd be out until late. I'll leave immediately." She began gathering her books, her face flushed with embarrassment. "Wait," Gregory said, holding up a hand. "Please, you don't need to rush off." "What are you studying?" Caroline hesitated, clutching the book to her chest. "It's nothing, really." "I should go?" "That doesn't look like nothing," Gregory said, his tone gentle. He gestured to the stack of books on the table. "Medical terminology, anatomy, nursing fundamentals. Are you in school?" Caroline's shoulders sagged slightly, as if she'd been caught doing something wrong. "Yes, sir. I'm in nursing school." "Night classes." "I usually study at home, but I had a big exam tomorrow, and I needed the extra time." "I'm sorry for using your kitchen." "It won't happen again." "Why are you apologizing?" Gregory asked, genuinely confused. He pulled out a chair and sat down across from her. "How long have you been doing this?" "Working here during the day and going to school at night?" "Almost a year now," Caroline admitted quietly. "I work here 3 days a week. I have another cleaning job 2 days a week, and classes 4 nights a week. It's a lot, but it's the only way I can afford tuition and still pay rent." Gregory studied her face. She looked exhausted. He'd never really noticed before, but now he could see the dark circles under her eyes, the weariness in her expression. "How old are you, Caroline?" 26, sir." "And you're doing all this alone?" She nodded. "My parents passed away when I was 19. Car accident. I had to drop out of college to pay off their medical bills and debts. I've been working toward going back ever since. Nursing feels right. It's what I've always wanted to do." Gregory felt something shift in his chest. Here was someone with real determination, real purpose, working herself to exhaustion while he sat in his empty mansion feeling sorry for himself. "Why didn't you tell me you were in school?" he asked. Caroline looked surprised by the question. "It's not your concern, Mr. Walsh. I'm here to clean your home, not burden you with my personal life." "Do you think my money makes me immune to caring about people?" Gregory asked, and there was no anger in his voice, only curiosity. Caroline met his eyes for the first time. "In my experience, wealthy people don't usually notice the help beyond whether we do our jobs well." Her honesty was refreshing, even if it stung a little. "I suppose I deserved that," Gregory said. "I haven't exactly been present in my own life lately, let alone paying attention to others. But I'm asking now. Tell me about nursing school. What's your exam on tomorrow?" Caroline seemed unsure whether to trust this sudden interest, but slowly she began to talk. She told him about her classes, about wanting to specialize in pediatric nursing, about the little girl in the hospital who'd held her hand years, ago, and inspired her to become a nurse. Gregory listened, really listened. And as she spoke, he saw not his housekeeper, but a young woman with dreams and determination, fighting against circumstances that would have defeated many people. "What time is your exam?" he asked when she finished. 8 in the morning. I should really go home and sleep." "Stay," Gregory said impulsively. "There's a guest room upstairs. You could sleep here, save the commute, and be fresh for your exam." Caroline looked shocked. "Mr. Walsh, I couldn't possibly—" "Why not?" "The room is empty. The house is certainly big enough. And frankly, Caroline, you look like you need a good night's sleep more than anyone I've ever met." She hesitated, clearly torn between propriety and exhaustion. Finally, she nodded. "That's very kind of you. Thank you." Gregory showed her to one of the guest rooms, a comfortable space with a view of the garden. "There are fresh towels in the bathroom. Help yourself to anything you need." "Mr. Walsh?" Caroline said as he was leaving. "Why are you being so nice to me?" He paused in the doorway. "Because you remind me of someone I used to be. Someone who worked 3 jobs to get through college, who studied in laundromats and libraries and anywhere with free light. I had people help me along the way, and I forgot to pay that forward. Maybe it's time I remembered." The next morning, Gregory found Caroline in the kitchen, dressed and ready to leave, her books packed neatly in her worn backpack. "Did you sleep?" he asked. "Better than I have in months," she admitted. "Thank you again, Mr. Walsh. How will you get to campus?" "Bus, it's not far." "Let me drive you," Gregory offered. "I don't have any meetings until 10. Caroline started to protest, but Gregory was already grabbing his keys. "Please let me do this. Consider it an investment in future health care." During the drive, Gregory found himself asking more questions. He learned that Caroline was at the top of her class despite working 2 jobs, that she tutored other students for free because she understood what it was like to struggle, that she volunteered at a free clinic on her 1 day off each week. "You're going to be an exceptional nurse," Gregory said as they pulled up to the campus. Caroline smiled, a real smile that transformed her tired face. "I hope so. Thank you, Mr. Walsh, for the ride, for everything." After she left, Gregory sat in his car, thinking. He pulled out his phone and made a call. "David, it's Gregory. I need you to look into nursing scholarships at the university. Full ride, living expenses included. Set one up under the Walsh Foundation name, and make it available immediately. I have the first recipient in mind." Over the next few weeks, Gregory found himself coming home earlier, often finding Caroline studying in the kitchen. He'd join her with his own work, and they'd sit in companionable silence, occasionally discussing her coursework or his business challenges. She had a sharp mind and often asked questions that made him think differently about his work. One evening, Caroline received an email. Gregory watched her face change from confusion to disbelief to tears. "What is it?" he asked, concerned. "I've been awarded a scholarship," she said, her voice shaking. "The Walsh Foundation Nursing Scholarship. It covers everything. Tuition, books, living expenses. I can quit my other job. I can actually focus on school." She looked at him, understanding dawning in her eyes. "You did this." "I created a scholarship program," Gregory said carefully. "You earned it. Your grades, your volunteer work, your dedication. Those are what make you worthy of this opportunity." Caroline stood, walked around the table, and before Gregory could react, she hugged him. "Thank you," she whispered. "You've changed my life." Gregory awkwardly patted her back, surprised by how much her gratitude affected him. "You're changing your own life, Caroline. I'm just removing some obstacles." "Why?" she asked, pulling back to look at him. "Why would you do this for me?" Gregory thought for a moment. "Because I spent so many years focused on building wealth that I forgot what it was for. Money isn't just for making more money. It's a tool, a resource that can change lives. You reminded me of that. You reminded me of what it means to work towards something meaningful." Caroline wiped her eyes. "I don't know how to repay you." "Become the nurse you're meant to be," Gregory said simply. "Help people who need it. That's repayment enough." As months passed, the dynamic between them shifted. Caroline continued working for Gregory, but now it was only 2 mornings a week, and more out of friendship than necessity. They'd become confidants, sharing their days over coffee, discussing books and ideas and dreams. Gregory found himself more engaged in his own life. He started a foundation focused on helping non-traditional students return to school. He funded scholarships, created mentorship programs, and used his business connections to provide job opportunities for graduates. When Caroline graduated with honors 2 years later, Gregory sat in the audience, clapping harder than anyone when she walked across the stage. At the celebration dinner he'd insisted on hosting, Caroline raised her glass. "To Mr. Walsh," she said, who found a tired maid, studying in his kitchen and saw a person with dreams instead of just an employee. who taught me that kindness doesn't have to be complicated. Sometimes it's just noticing someone, really seeing them, and deciding to help. Gregory raised his own glass. To Caroline, who reminded a cynical businessman that success means nothing if it's not shared, who showed me that the best investment isn't in properties or portfolios, but in people and their potential. Years later, when Gregory was asked about his philanthropy work, he always told the same story, about coming home early one night, about finding a young woman with a book and a dream, about how helping one person had opened his eyes to the hundreds of others who needed the same chance. Caroline went on to become a pediatric nurse, specializing in working with children from low-income families. She never forgot where she came from or who had helped her along the way, and she made sure to pay it forward, mentoring young people who reminded her of herself, hardworking, determined, and in need of someone who believed in them. Sometimes we're so focused on our own worlds that we miss the extraordinary people right in front of us. Sometimes it takes a late-night encounter, a moment of real connection, to open our eyes to the difference we can make in someone's life. And sometimes, in helping others find their purpose, we rediscover our own. Gregory Walsh had found his fortune in real estate, but he found his purpose in a kitchen, at 10 o'clock on a Thursday night, in the determined eyes of a young woman who refused to let circumstances define her future. And that, he often reflected, was the best investment he'd ever made.